can somebody verbally tell me, can you see the Trailblazer Mentorship site? Because I can't see you.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so as we know, mentorship is very important, but getting mentorship experience can be also very difficult. There's a few different ways to do it, and we've had, the Salesforce for Everyone podcast. We've talked about mentorship and ways that you can find mentors, or if you're a mentor, ways that you can find mentees. But there's a lot that goes into this if you're really just trying to find it organically. And what typically goes into it is, trying to build a network on LinkedIn or joining local community groups, either online or in person, asking for coffee chats, DMing people, those kind of things, and developing those relationships. And there is nothing wrong with that. I would suggest that everyone tries to build those networks in ways that you're comfortable on platforms that you're comfortable. If online Trailblazer communities are where you enjoy spending time, awesome. If it's Facebook, if it's LinkedIn, if it's Twitter, it doesn't matter. You can build those organic relationships, and you should always do that throughout your career. That's my opinion. However, for a lot of people, especially people who are newer to the ecosystem or look up one day, they might be 10 years, into their career and realize, shoot, I'm not as networked as I thought I'd be. I'm a little bit more disconnected than I thought I would be. And for that reason, we are trying to make mentorship much more streamlined and much more accessible for everyone. So what we created, obviously, I believe most people are familiar with the Trailblazer Mentorship Program that Salesforce themselves facilitated up until 2023. In 2023, that was sort of removed for whatever reason. Doesn't really matter. The fact is it served a purpose, and we believe that that purpose should continue forward for decades to come. And I also believe that we shouldn't have to look at a big corporate company to facilitate everything for our communities, right? We can do this ourselves. A lot of this we can do ourselves because we are the Ohana. We don't have to wait for someone to let us know we're allowed to be a community. We are a community. So with that in mind, we decided, hey, this is available, we should pick it up and we should run with it. So we decided to keep the name, except switch it over to the Trailblazer Mentorship Platform, because this is different in what we are hoping to be the best ways possible. And this has already been launched. We've already helped just over 80 mentors in our last cohort. And that is all made possible because of our sponsors and because of over 40 mentors that decided to generously give their time. So what do we actually do? I'm going to try to jog through this quickly. I hope this is straightforward, but if you head over to trailblazermentorship.com, and I drop that link in the chat, you will find this page. And all you have to do, let's say we tried to make it really easy for you. If you're looking for a mentor, you click here. You click apply for mentorship. You fill out a form. It lets us know who you are. There's a review team who is going to review these, removing all of your identifying information. So all we know is the answer to your questions. We look those over. Our team keeps us very honest on sort of who we're accepting and who we're declining. And it is very difficult because right now, and we have an upcoming mentorship cohort that is starting in April. So we're going to be accepting mentees the last 2 weeks of March. So that's here in just a couple of weeks. And it's a difficult process because we will get typically about 300 to 500 applicants. And this cohort, we are expecting to accept about 120 applicants, which is a lot, but it's still only maybe a third or a fifth of the applicant pool. With that in mind, basically, we just go through and we randomize the list. And again, we remove any identifying information so that nobody plays favorites, even by accident, right? And then we come down the list and we select those first 120 that we feel are a good fit based on their responses. And at that point, we kind of say, okay, we're done. It's a little deeper than that, but it is a very difficult process, definitely the hardest process for our team. Now, that's if you're looking to find a mentor. It's that easy. You fill out this, you're going to get an email that says, great job, we've got your information. And again, we are accepting mentees within the last 2 weeks of March for this upcoming cohort. Cohorts are going to run every other month. I can dive into that process if anybody wants to know why, but basically we do mentorships for, right now we did a February cohort. We'll do those for the month of February. March allows a little bit of an overflow time for people who didn't get their mentorship experiences in. They were a little delayed getting started. We typically expect these to take about 4 weeks. So we're hoping they can get covered in the month of February, but obviously life happens and some of those overflow. And then we have to have time to settle down, get feedback from our mentors, onboard new mentors, find out that some mentors aren't going to have time to do it for the next cohort. And then we have to clean up the mentees and get new mentees into the platform, all ready for launch on the April cohort. And again, this is all completely free. So it is made possible by sponsors. I'll talk about that in just a second. If you're looking to be a mentor, and yes, you can be a mentor and a mentee. If you're looking to be a mentor, again, just fill out inspire others as a mentor. It's a quick form. We pretty much accept every mentor. The only issue would be if somebody clearly just, maybe it was by accident, or they really just don't have the experience. Like I know, for instance, we had one person who had no Salesforce experience, but they had tech experience in another field. I think they could have been a good mentor for someone, but it's not necessarily something we want to mislead somebody with through a Salesforce specific mentorship platform. Mentorship resources. So mentor and mentee resources that will provide you in a number of ways. But these are basically videos, guides, step-by-step walkthroughs on how to get the most out of your mentorship experience. We surveyed over 100 Salesforce mentors who participated in Salesforce's mentorship program. And one of the biggest things we heard was that they would get frustrated with how entry level the candidates were. So they basically say, hey, you got to go on Trailhead and you have to create a LinkedIn profile. And I don't really know how else to help you because you're going to be busy with that for a while. And the other thing would be getting ghosted or just not showing up or not being responsive. So we've done our best to make sure that mentors and mentees understand how to meet each other in the middle for the best experience. And we also have ways that mentors and mentees both can provide feedback on one another so that we can make sure that our mentors are top-notch and our mentees are top-notch, because we want quality experience for everyone. Now, we do have a few videos down here with a few individuals talking about their experience, both as mentors and mentees on the platform. So if you want to check out these videos, you can. And then right now we have 6. We just added a 7th Mentee Alliance partner. And so basically these are companies that are nice enough to go out of their way to provide funding for the platform so that we do not use volunteers at the moment. Everyone who makes this possible is paid. And that is because of the sponsors that make it possible for us to expand the platform, share the platform, and pay everyone who helps make the platform possible. So I hope that makes sense. All right, next thing, and I am excited about your questions. I just wanted to show you, once you've been accepted as a mentee, this is what you're going to see. You come into this world where it's a little bit different than what you might expect out of a mentorship platform. And the reason for that is historically, Salesforce would randomly assign mentees to mentors. And it would just be, we have 100 mentors and 100 mentees, and then those would get, I don't know the back-end process, but they would get matched together, and you would get emails and it would say, hey, you're a mentor for these mentees, and the mentees would get an email that says, hey, this is your mentor. So we've done it a little bit differently. We wanted to put the power in the hands of the mentees. So as a mentee, you actually log into the platform. And the reason we decided to go with this approach is because we wanted to keep the comfort of the mentee in mind. We also interviewed over 100 mentees that use the Salesforce platform. And one of the biggest things we heard was they were matched with a mentor that they didn't feel comfortable with. And this can be for a number of reasons. It can be things you experienced in your life. And for that reason, you are simply not comfortable with certain people. And that's totally fine. And we wanted to make sure that you're comfortable with who your mentor is. We also wanted to make sure that there's alignment, that if you have a year of experience and want to become a freelancer in the CPQ space, that you don't get aligned with someone who has a year of experience and they're really better at helping you with the Salesforce admin exam. So that's not very good alignment. And we wanted to make sure there's alignment. So for that reason, you select your mentor. So these are actually mentors currently on the platform. Again, we are wrapping up a cohort. So there are a lot more mentors that have made themselves available. These are actually the ones who are still available after the last cohort. Many of these already have mentees, but they were open to having multiple mentees. So they are still available. Now, the mentors, we have about 30 more mentors. So we have a total, we're expecting of 70 mentors for this upcoming cohort, which is incredible. And with that in mind, what you do is you log in, and you can, if you know you want, for instance, like you want Warren Walters, then you can search Warren in the search box and it'll pull him up. If you want a specific type of job, like in-house versus consulting versus freelance, you can filter by that. You can combine filters, obviously. Types of roles. So you wanted to be a business analyst. You're looking for somebody who has 3 to 5 years of experience in the business analyst space, and you're hoping that they're in your country, for example, or maybe that they have a background that you're familiar with. This is huge for entry-level talent. If they're a teacher, K through 12, and they want to be a business analyst, it's really helpful for them to hear from another person who used to be a teacher that is now a business analyst, so that they can really understand that path for them. So we'll apply, hopefully we'll get somebody. We have one, so that's a pretty specific filter with the ones we have remaining. So 3 to 5 years of experience. Holly is available for a business analyst track for people with a teaching background. So you can imagine this gives a lot of opportunity. If you just wanted to look for teachers and not specifically, you can find a lot of people with teaching backgrounds, just not specifically business analyst backgrounds, and 3 to 5 years experience combined. So there's a lot that goes into this. Once you find a mentor that you like, so let's pick on Bobby, you can hover over and see a little bit about them. Bobby is a pretty fun guy, so his is relatively creative, I would say. But you can see a lot of people are here. You can get a brief overview, and then what you do is you simply click on them, and you can read a little bit more. You can check out their LinkedIn profile, make sure that this is really a match you're looking for. You can see Bobby here is actually the founder and principal consultant of a consulting firm. So there's some great mentors on the platform. And then all you have to do is click book a call with me. That's going to send an email to Bobby, letting him know that you have requested him. He doesn't have to accept. Because again, we want mentors to feel like they can really help the mentee that they're aligned to. So he's going to get a booking request, and that's also going to show up if I log in as Bobby. I'll show you really quickly. He would have a booking request from you here and in his email, and then he can choose to accept you or decline you. And most of the time you're going to get accepted, and then you show up under My Mentees. The other thing is you can actually request multiple mentors. The first mentor to accept you is the one who is going to be your mentor. So the booking request would be removed or canceled for the other mentors. So you could come in here and you could request 20 mentors, but the first one who accepts you will be aligned to you as your mentor. So be selective, maybe pick 3 or 4, and then from there, you'll have a mentor accept you, and you'll become their mentee. And then both of you will get emails saying, congratulations, it happened. And then you will be presented with a Calendly link for that mentor. So you can just click right on their link, schedule a call, and you're off to the races. And so each mentorship experience is 4 weeks long. That may not be 4 calendar weeks. It might be 6 weeks with 4 meetings, but that is completely up to you and your mentor or your mentee, how you handle that. And I would say that is a baseline overview of how the platform works. And I'm happy to take your questions. I can screen share again if I need to show off anything that I may have missed. But for now, I'll stop presenting.
So awesome, Bradley. I know I was going through the questions we ever prepared for you, and I was like, oh my gosh, he already answered this one. He answered that one. But we'll start out with one. So I think we kind of got an idea of where this idea originated and how it originated, but could you walk us through the early stages of the Trailblazer Mentorship Program and include when the idea was originated and what inspired its creation?
For sure. So obviously, as I mentioned, Salesforce's mentorship platform was part of that. But I will say that we had actually looked to create a mentorship platform probably about 3 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. But it kept finding its way to the back burner, right? It couldn't find its way to be a priority. And we actually spent time, I would say that we invested, before we ever launched this, probably 2 or 3 years ago, we invested about $30,000 to $50,000 in making the platform possible. And it turned out, Salesforce was doing their thing. That was exciting. We saw a lot of value there, and we didn't want to create noise for the sake of creating noise. Just like, hey, let's do a mentorship platform. It felt like something that was available, and we wanted to make sure if we created something that it was meaningful, that it was valuable, and that it had a place in the ecosystem. So we had really put that on the back burner for a while. It was still there. It was ready for us to sort of pick it up and dust it off. So as soon as we heard that Salesforce had announced not continuing with their platform, we were like, all right, this is our sign. We need to pick this up and we need to run forward with it. So it still took us a while. For anyone keeping track, it probably took us a solid 3 to 4 months to get from, we had already built the platform for the most part, but just final updates, testing, actually getting staff aligned to be product owners of this new sort of thing that was happening. And then we wanted to make sure that people understood it wasn't like a talent stacker thing. And that's, of course, been misunderstood, that how much does it cost? Why are mentors doing this for free if Talent Stacker is getting paid? And simply not the case. We always say that for-profit companies can do things for free. And so that is what we're doing. So this is for the community. And if you don't know, we have way more free resources than we have paid resources at Talent Stacker. So it's sort of the line we walk of being seen as like the biased for-profit company, but like we have like 5 people on staff, right? So it's not exactly this huge, corporate entity that has shareholders breathing down our necks to make sure we hit those revenue numbers. So it's fun because we get to do a lot of the things we want to do for the community, and then balance that with, of course, trying to run a company and make sure that our staff is taken care of also.
Yeah, it's so cool that it was there waiting, right? And who would have known that would have happened, that Salesforce would have stepped away from the mentorship program and you all were just right there primed, ready to step in to help, because I know that a lot of people found a lot of value out of it, and now for you to be able to continue that value is awesome. Iris, you had your hand up.
Thank you so much, Geraldine. And Bradley, this looks incredible. Thank you so much for being here. This looks like an incredible platform, and I can attest to all the free things that Talent Stacker do. And I love your podcast, even though you guys aren't doing it anymore. And I've had a bit of a giggle on it when you guys are sharing your chicken stories. But my question is, first of all, you've answered most of them, but how many sessions would a person get on this? And as you know, like the market's just a little bit cookie at the moment. And as much as everyone loves that mentorship and the feedback that they're getting, they're all hungry for that, finding how to land that position. Do you have it? Is it all built into the platform, or is that still coming along? I'm just wondering. Oh, and last question, can I add it to my resources? Because I love it.
So I'll answer your last question first, because I'll definitely forget. Yes, of course you can. And thank you for doing that. Number 2, thank you for your kindness. I always appreciate that. There's not quite enough kindness in the world, in my opinion. So I always appreciate a little extra layer of that. And I try to reciprocate that. So yes, all of those questions are answered, I'll say, in the guide. But if there's one thing I've learned about running a company and helping people, is that people don't read the guides, and I really don't expect you to, and that's okay. But it's there for the people who do. Maybe you could like copy and paste it into GPT and then say like, tell me what the guide said about this. But otherwise, to answer your questions, 4 sessions is the expectation. I'm big on setting expectations. Coming from a consulting background, that was so important for clients. So it's so important for customers, setting expectations. So the expectation from the mentor and the mentee is 4 one-hour sessions. And those are up to you guys. You will find in those guides, again, that I don't expect you to read. We'll email you too as your sort of the date comes up for you to log in and actually select a mentor. We'll email and let you know like, hey, here's how you put together like goal planning and figuring out what is it do you want out of this experience? Because a lot of times mentees will just show up, and this doesn't help the mentor or mentee. The mentee will just show up and go, I'm here, tell me your secrets, right? And it's like, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? And we have to know a little bit about what's going on here. So as the mentor gets an idea of sort of what you're about and what you're looking for, and then they can sort of, think over that, especially after that first session where you break the ice and get into it a little bit, both people really come back that second week a little more poised to get the value out. By the time you get to week 4, there should be an action plan in place, and everybody's goals are a little bit different. Some people are, I want to be a business analyst in this industry, specifically in an internal role. I'm not ready for consulting. And some people are like, I'll take any job I can get as long as it pays money, right? And it's like, okay, well, those are 2 totally different goals, and they can have 2 totally different approaches. On the far side, it could be somebody looking to take their 5 years of Salesforce experience. Again, this is not limited to entry level. So you could have 5 years of experience and be looking to get a couple of clients on the side of your day job, like those kind of things. And you would select a freelance mentor. So there's a lot that goes into this. That's really the idea behind it is you're going to do 4 sessions. You can apply for another session in the future if you would like to. And again, you can be a mentor and a mentee at the same time. So I hope I've answered your questions. I feel like I'm missing something, but did I answer your questions?
That was perfect.
One more thing.
Thank you so much.
I was going to comment on the podcast. We have 2 more episodes coming out this month. So we haven't really killed it, but it's not one of those things where we feel like we need to show up every week. We said this as we started it. We had kind of promised like 10 episodes behind the scenes internally. We're like, want to do 10 episodes. I feel like we have something to share, and we haven't shared it through this type of media, right? And so let's share it this way. In those first 10 episodes were how to land a Salesforce job step by step. That's what it was. And we kind of said, okay, well, let's take a break. And we took a break after that. And then we came back and we did another season, and it was all about, you know, what we thought was important. But if we don't feel like there's something like really important to say that the community needs to hear, that needs to be shared, we don't talk just to talk. So it's not about validating us. It's about spreading awareness for you guys. So as there's stuff that you need to be aware of, we will do a podcast. But if there's not, then we don't need too many pats on the back. We get too much of that already.
Some of us wouldn't mind tuning in to hear about the Costco shopping as well. So just
all right, maybe we can do some throw off episodes. We'll just chat.
Oh, love that. Irish, you always have the best questions to kick us off. So we have a few more questions here, Bradley. Amanda, you were next.
Thank you. Thank you, Bradley, for talking with us. I thought something was really interesting that you said, obviously, that this was something that you had wanted to do for a long time. You put it on the back burner, but then obviously saw the opportunity and the need for it. And so then you revived it and brought it back to life. So my question is actually about your mentee alliance. Like, how fast did you get these people together? Because I mean, obviously, it's not just you that sees the need for mentorship, because you have a cadre of really, you know, of companies and people that believe in this. So it's not just you. Mm-hmm. I mean, did you have these people on the back burner as well, or were you able to just get this message out and everybody jumped on board?
It's funny. That's a great question. I thought about this some this week, actually, because somebody asked me, actually somebody said that was close to me. They said, everything you touch turns to gold. And I thought, that is so not true. Like, that is beyond not true. Like, you don't realize how often I fail, like constantly have ideas that just fall flat. And I will tell you, finding sponsors for anything is like, I can't do it. I'm so bad at it. I don't know if it's, I don't know how to pitch the message. I don't know how to get the value proposition across the table. I'm not sure what it is, but I find it really hard to find sponsors. So I am grateful for the sponsors that we have, because these were, people that were willing to say yes, people that were willing to take a chance on an unproven platform. And that's a big deal. People who take a shot on you when you haven't proven yourself in a certain area yet, man, those are the people that I think you should surround yourself with. Those are the people I try to surround myself with. They're your believers, right? Like, they're you have one group of people in life and that surround you that when you have big ideas, or that when you believe in something, they will do everything they can to ensure that you feel like you're not enough to do it. And then you've got this other group of people who are going to make you feel like you are more than enough and you're always enough. And I would say, when you look at our sponsor list, that's my people, right? Like, those are those people. So with that in mind, was it hard for these people? It wasn't too hard. We just a new one that was pretty tough. But it's a clothing company, and they're called And Collar, but I'm not going to go into that. It's not like a pitch for them, but it was tough, right? And I felt like we needed sponsors that I told our sponsors, I said, I will never have 2 sponsors that operate in the same space, right? I don't want like sponsorships competing with each other. So we wouldn't do, say, like a Mike Wheeler and a Focus on Force and a Dave Massey and a Emily Call. Like, we do all those together, right? Like, it feels like overlap if we can help it. So we tried to find a variety. So we had like Warren Walters and Cloud Code Academy on the developer side, like Mark Good and the AI Force training on the AI side. We had Choose FI, which is awesome. And they've always been so good to us on the just really finance side. They're not even Salesforce related. And now And Collar is a clothing company. Like, they're not even Salesforce related, right? But we talk to professionals wear professional clothes and they sell professional clothing. So what do you know? So there's a lot that goes into that. And we do shout them out in the emails. So there's potential for them to get, some nods their way and some awareness their way. So it is mutually beneficial, but it also does allow us to operate the platform at cost. So we do not profit from the platform. We do not profit from sponsors. If there's ever, we're not at this point yet, but if there's ever a point where we have so many sponsors that we have too many funds, then we will either use that to purchase vouchers or help send people to Dreamforce or local Dreamin' events, or expand the platform and make more features available. Again, this is not a financial venture. This is very much a community venture. So that's our focus. Thank you for that question.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I was laughing to myself because one of my most favorite TED Talks ever is this video of a person being wild and dancing on a hill at a concert, and they were saying they're not, the most important person is that person who steps up and dances with them, right? And so that just really resonated with me, what you said about the people who believe in you. Even when you think like, can I do this? Those people who believe in your really big ideas. It brought me back to my favorite moment of watching that TED Talk. So thanks for that. Megan, we have a question from you, and then we're going to grab our group picture.
Well, number one, are you talking about the video where it's like the one person comes to help him, the guy who's dancing on the hill by himself, and then the one comes up and then everybody like slowly? That is such a good TED Talk.
That is the one. That is the one, my favorite video from any of the TED Talks.
Yes. So hello, everybody. I have a question about your documentation. So I have been mentoring with Veterati now, and I've done 3 meetings. And the one thing that I always feel bad about, and I thought about putting together like my own kind of like bring with you like your questions, or bring with you like, the things you're looking for. So I'm not going to try to come on and be a mentor because I have less than a year experience. But do you have a way to access some of those things? So if we're mentoring in other areas of Salesforce, we can utilize them by any chance?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, right? Like this is for the community. Like there's no such thing as like stealing our idea, because I think it was like we went to launch this, and I won't name any names, but we went to launch this, and somebody was like, hey, a couple of Salesforce MVPs already had this idea, right? And they already started a group. And I was like, we could have like 10 mentorship platforms. Like, what would be wrong with that? Like it's a wonderful thing. So more power to everyone. Like, if anything, I'd rather collab with everyone. So I think this material is available. Like, if you think you can better some other mentorship situation by using our stuff, by all means, use our stuff all day long.
Thanks,
I'll also say one thing you mentioned was that you have less than a year of Salesforce experience, so you can't be a mentor. And I just wanted to say something to everyone on here. That has come up, and I would encourage you to apply to be a mentor if you feel like you have the bandwidth. And the reason for that is because a lot of people make the mistake of saying like, you need a golden hoodie, you need to be an MVP, you need to have all these accolades and decades of experience and be the best in the business to be able to mentor someone. And I will tell you that some of the worst mentors for entry-level talent are people that have been in the ecosystem for 10, 15 years. Why? They haven't landed an entry-level job in a very long time, right? So guess who is best suited to talk to someone about what it really takes, what it's really like to go through it, the emotions, the feelings, the failures, the overcoming, the being told no 100 times before you get a yes. You can so tightly align with a person going through that moment that you can really feel it with them, and you can really encourage them, and you can really tell them what it's all about. I would say that for that reason, I would prefer to align someone with someone who landed a job less than a year ago if they're looking for an entry-level job, because you remember how hard those entry-level exams were. And,
oh my God. Yeah.
And everything that went into that, right? Like sometimes we forget. I took the admin exam in 2010. Like so I always tell people, don't ask me about the admin exam. I'm not your guy.
And now I'm building an org from scratch. I'm a PM. I'm on the MAD planning committee. Here we go, people. It can happen. Where's Iris? Just get yourself an Iris. That's all I can say.
Awesome.
You too can do awesome things if you have an Iris.
If you didn't see it in the thing, trailblazermentorship.com, you'll see a button called Mentorship Resources, and you can download 2. There's a mentee guide and a mentor guide, and some of them have overlapping content. because there is information like expectations. Both need to have expectations for the same thing, right? But then one is about goal setting as a mentee. One's about being ready to be like empathetic and compassionate and for like, they might ask you dumb questions and that's okay. They're a beginner, right? So bringing those two ideas together, absolutely still everything you want. And I hope you get some value out of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Bradley. Okay, so we are a little bit over the midpoint of our session. So before I forget, because I already forgot to start recording, we are going to get a group photo for sharing on social media. This is important because we always need to be branding. We will plan on posting this on LinkedIn and Twitter tomorrow, and we'll tag everyone in the photo. So if you only have your first name showing and you would like to include your full name, go ahead and enter your name in the chat window now. It makes it much easier for us to be able to tag you. And then for anyone that would like to participate in the photo, go ahead and turn on your video at this time, and I'll grab a screenshot. So I'll give everyone a moment to be able to get their names into the chat, because I will ask that you don't put anything into the chat right before I take the video. And it's going to be a little slower video because usually one of my partners in crime takes the video takes the screenshot for me. So bear with me as I take it. It might be a little bit more of a pause, but I will give you a countdown. All right, I don't see any names added, so we will go ahead and get started at the count of 3, 2, 1. Maybe.
Smile longer.
Okay, we've got it. We've got it. Awesome. Okay. All right. Let me make sure that does not get deleted, because there will not be a backup, which there normally is when my mouth is wide open and looking a different direction. We are good.
I want Geraldine's shirt.
So Vetforce is the Salesforce business resource group that supports our veterans, military spouses, and has our allies in it. So that is where this shirt came from. A wonderful gentleman named Mike Nolan, who some of you all might know was the president at the time when I was given this shirt. So yeah, it's been great. All right, I'm going to get our questions back up for you, Bradley. I hope you are ready. So one that I think, I know this is a fairly new program, but do you have any stories or examples that you could highlight on how mentorship and your program has played a pivotal role in empowering new talent and facilitating their success and being able to break into the Salesforce community?
Yeah, I can share some of those. So I know Anita Smith is one of our own at Talent Stacker, and we have quite a few of our staff members decided to be mentors, which is awesome. And I know Anita has worked with her mentee, and he immediately, he came on and he was actually in the middle of negotiating for a job offer. He had a couple of final interviews. And if you don't know, Anita Smith is like the negotiation queen. Like, she just it's her thing. Like, she negotiates with me for raises, and I hate it because she's just great at sharing her value. It's like, you can't say no. Yeah, she's a great person to have. And I know that he was immediately about to be underpaid in his first role. And I think they were coming in at 50s, something like that. And she was able to help him negotiate up to just over $70,000 for an entry-level role. So that took weeks, though, right? Because those processes take time. And you don't just negotiate with a company or finish a final interview and they come back to you and they want to talk to you about the full package and this and that. And everything that, hey, did you forget we have a 401k matching and you should consider that? And it's like, yeah, I don't really want your shareholder profit, whatever. I don't need these shares or whatever. So I think that's a good example of really the high value you can get. But I would say just having somebody hear you, making you feel heard. I know Philip Weathers got partnered with, they shared their story publicly, so you can find that on trailblazermentorship.com. And we'll continue to get videos and verbs from individuals. But Philip Weathers was partnered with Kalen Moss, who, if you don't know who Kalen is, then go find out who Kalen is, because he's a marketing cloud guy, great energy, great person. He came over to our neck of the woods, and we had lunch last month. So it's always fun to get together with people who are actually like really good energy people. Like they really care about each other. So Kaylin Moss is a wonderful person, and they were able to learn from each other. And I'll say that's one of the biggest things about mentors and mentees is that Philip is a guy in his 40s with 3 kids. And Kaylin is a guy in his 20s with a girlfriend. And that's a very different walk of life. So it's fun because Kaylin was able to learn about like life and what happens next and what's important to people as they get deeper into this journey of life. And Kaylin was able to give Philip so much advice around, you know, how to brand himself, how to build a network, how to get more involved, how to look for opportunities that actually align with what he wants in his life. So there's a lot of give and take. I think in their video, they said something about, you know, helping people is like planting seeds, and then you never know how long it's going to take for it to grow. But all of a sudden you turn around in like 2 or 3 years and all these seeds are popping up and there's flowers everywhere, and it's a beautiful thing. So always just give and it'll find its way back around for you.
I love that message. Sometimes it can take a while, and sometimes, you know, you might not see that, but planting those seeds, knowing that someday it's going to make a difference and be able to grow to others as well is so important. So a lot of our community here that attends, we have a lot of allies, but a lot of them are connected to the military community. So are there any specific initiatives or alliances in place to support individuals specifically from the military community that are seeking to transition into the Salesforce ecosystem?
That is a great question. I should have had this ready, but it won't take me but a second, and I'll get it right now and share a link. So the short answer is yes. So what we have is we call them internally, we call them avatars is what they're called. So they're just groups of people from different backgrounds that we try to create specific resources for. So I've just pasted our military resource guide from Talent Stacker in there. So that's all 3 resources. It's linking to podcast where we specifically hosted military panels. It is linking to, I believe actually like Veterati will be on the list of recommended resources, as mentioned before, but there's going to be quite a few in there. We've had this reviewed by, actually this is community driven, right? Because I'm not the person for it. Like I'm not the expert on this topic. So this was very much driven by the military community, how we came up with the advice inside of this guide. I have my entire family is basically military, but my dad would never talk about it. So he's a Navy veteran. And my grandfather is also a Navy veteran. And they really didn't talk about it much, which was interesting. My dad would show me pictures like once every couple of years. But other than that, he was very quiet about it. So I have a lot of respect and a lot of appreciation because it is close to me. So it was very important. And all of our Talent Stacker programs, anything you buy from us is 50% off for military. And there, you know, I don't know if that's the best choice. It's very close to break even for us, especially if you need a lot of support or something like that. We might actually lose on that deal, but we are perfectly fine losing to help people who deserve that assistance because of the help you have given us. So thank you.
Awesome. Such great resources. And I can sympathize with your family members that maybe didn't talk about the military, you know, before going into the Salesforce ecosystem was not something I ever really talked about or shared with my employers. Being a veteran, the first thing I thought they'd say is, well, what the heck does that, how does that translate into what you're trying to do? And being a military spouse, for sure now, I would never say that because you're going to move in a few years, right? But coming into the Salesforce ecosystem was really the first time I was able to kind of open up these identities of myself because it is so much more a welcoming community. So I can definitely empathize with your family members. Amanda, comment or question?
Question. Yeah, it'd be good to turn off the mute. Sorry about that. So obviously, like this is a community, and you know you're just starting, but I guess the community for community, I kind of saw that on your webpage. How are you going to scale this, and how are you going to grow? Because everybody has a limited amount of time, and obviously, yes, you're paying, you know, the mentors for their time, but how are you going to maintain this and keep the momentum going? Because, you know, sometimes we don't have the bandwidth for commitment, and I'm just kind of interested in that because I think that once the word really gets out, I think you're going to have so much interest that you're not going to be able to keep up. So if you could do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a great question. It's a good question for me to spend some time on also. We sort of fly by the seat of our pants quite a bit. I appreciate that I've had the experience of that. Exact thing happened with Talent Stacker, right? Like we launched and I thought this was going to be this cutesy thing where like maybe we could help like 5 people a month and we would do our best and maybe we could like get up to like 100 people a year and it'd be really, really cool. And like last year was a rough year, right? Like the market tightened and almost 500 talent stackers landed jobs. Like never, never, ever in my wildest dreams is that a reality. That doesn't happen. And so I think number one, we've been through that recently, like very recently, this like, hey, we're going to do this cute little thing. And then suddenly it's like, boom, like now what do we do? So thankfully we have an incredible staff at Talent Stacker who are always willing to come over and help and diversify that talent and say, okay, well, I'm going to spend a few less hours on this to help out with this. Like Alex Warnicki, for example, is like powerhouse of a talent. Like, I don't know what she can't do. Like she's going to take my job if I'm not careful. So I got to like make sure I manage that. But the point is like she designed the Trailblazer Mentorship website and she's like, Brad, it needs to be simple. It needs to be straightforward. We need to not make it, you know, too many menu tabs and it just needs to, they find a mentor, they get a mentor, they have a mentorship experience, it's over. So yes, I believe that there will be a lot of traction. I hope there is, because that's the problem we want to have, right? Like we'll always be cognizant to not outpace ourselves to accept 1,000 mentees. Like our biggest concern with this first cohort was we're going to do the ratio wrong. So this time we did a ratio of 1.5 to 1. And what that means, we accepted 1.5 mentees for every mentor. And we were scared, right? We were like, oh man, how's this going to go? So I had a few backup mentors in place that they were like, hey, look, I don't really have time, but if you screw this up, I'll come be a mentor. I was like, okay, awesome. So we had that in place. Now this time we're going to go for 2 because we accepted too few mentees last time. We accepted, I believe, 70 mentees or 80, might have been 80, and it wasn't enough. So we need to be in a position to accept more this time and maybe have some more backups. So we'll scale as we go. I'm hoping as the word gets out, just as many, not just as many, but hopefully mentors who are willing to give back can help to keep pace with the number of mentees who want to get help. That will help a little bit. But outside of that, you know, maybe we can sweeten the deal and start paying mentors at some point. If we get sponsorships that align with the program, like that could be a benefit if we could maybe get more mentors in. So you can tell I'm sort of spinning my wheels on this, but there are always ideas and there are always solutions, and we hyper focus on solutions. And so we have streamlined this quite a bit, just like we did Talent Stacker, and just like I think all Salesforce professionals can appreciate options and making sure that not too much work is manual. And when you design processes, they're designed to be able to be done in an automated way. So a lot of this is automated. Like when we are done with the mentorship cohort, we click a button, for lack of a better word. There's a little more than that. There's some manual double check, but we effectively click a few buttons and all of the mentors, mentees are removed and all of the mentors are reset and all of the mentees go to sort of a mentee complete bucket. And then all the new mentees come in. And once the only thing that is truly manual is the review of the mentees and mentors to determine who's going to be accepted and declined. And after that, everything else is pretty well automated. So I'm hoping we can scale similar to how we did Talent Stacker. It helps to come from, you know, almost 15 years now and like Salesforce and business consulting. So when it comes to automating processes, we're pretty good at it. And we do use Salesforce. So a lot of our backend processes are automated.
Awesome. I was going to ask, is it built on Salesforce, right? But I probably know the answer to that now. So Iris had maybe a question, maybe a statement in the chat here. So she thinks you probably do not have enough to do, right? No, she didn't. What about an interview portal? It would be amazing because there are a lot of people trying to prepare, especially for entry-level roles. Is there a way that they could maybe tag mentors? Do you have that option of like, hey, I really need some interview guidance or some mock interviews? Is that something that's possible today on the platform or something that maybe is on the roadmap for you all?
So one of the filters inside of the mentorship platform is you can actually select what are called specialty skills, and you can select mentors who are specifically interested in helping facilitate interview readiness. One of the free guides on talentstacker.com, if you click the free resources tab, is an interview readiness guide. Again, guides and people actually reading guides, two different things. But there is a walkthrough of exactly how to handle entry-level jobs. And I believe, I could be wrong, it might be episode 5 of the podcast, is actually dedicated to interviewing. Now, I know you mentioned maybe like a portal where people could prep. We're actually working on it's been 6 months in the making now, and I believe we have another 2 to 3 months, like a huge overhaul. Probably shouldn't share this. It's okay though. So to throw all my time estimates out the window, I think it'll be ready in a couple of months, but it may not be. But our entire mentorship platform is getting an overhaul from a functionality perspective, a scalability perspective. The tech stack that is built on is going to be completely redone because it's a little bit slow in our opinion, and it doesn't allow us to be as creative as we would like to be. And with that, we're also going to be moving our site to a new tech stack. So I'm mentioning all that because it's going to allow us to have more freedom to do cool things, like maybe building some kind of platform that is specific to interviewing, or just looking at interview videos and asking questions to maybe an AI bot that can give you feedback on the spot specific to Salesforce careers. Can you do all those things on your own? Absolutely you can. But if there's one thing we know about DIY, it is much easier if you just land inside of a hub that is dedicated to that one thing. So do we have it? No. But as mentioned at the start, you can select your mentor specifically on if they are willing to be an interview readiness coach. So yeah.
Awesome. You know, at Salesforce, I don't know if Lena's still on yet, I saw her heart. We call that safe harbor. We're always like, right? You ever interact with safe harbor in the next couple of months, you might be ready, right?
Yes.
So
that's the problem with me flying by the seat of my pants. I'm still new to the safe harbor statements.
Yeah, safe harbor, and it's all good, Bradley. Okay, so I think we have time for probably one more question before we get our closing question going. So I think part of what is making this program so special and unique is just that ability to kind of choose who your the mentee to kind of select who their mentor is, and the mentor to kind of select who might be the right fit for them from a mentorship standpoint. So how do you ensure that the quality and personalized nature of this experience continues as this program expands?
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. By far, I would rather sacrifice on how many mentees get accepted than sacrifice on the quality of the mentorship experiences. I don't want to sacrifice on either, but the quality of these individuals is very important, right? So there is feedback immediately available. Like I could screen share, but I'll just trust me. When you're looking at a mentor and they have accepted you, you can give feedback immediately, and we get those emails right away. So we're always monitoring that inbox. And so what happens is you can report that maybe your mentee ghosted you, right? Or you can report that your mentor ghosted you, or you can report that somebody said something inappropriate, or somebody made you feel uncomfortable, or whatever happens, right? This stuff happens all the time. Like we facilitate communities on multiple platforms, internal communities and forums. We have thousands of members. So we have a lot of experience sort of working with people, especially people going through, I think people underestimate the number of emotions that go into the reality of trying to break into a new career. There's a lot going on, and there's like normal life, and there's your day job, and there's your kids, and there's your doubt, and there's negative self-talk, and just all the things that go into this. And when you're going through this experience, like mentors having compassion and empathy is so important. And hearing and validating individuals, even if it's not something that you necessarily agree with. So the short end of it is that you can give feedback. We welcome people to give feedback. And then after each mentorship experience, we send you an email requesting that you give, we give you a way to either email us back or fill out an anonymous feedback form. So you can let us know what happened and what your experience was so that we can better the platform. But obviously, the only thing that makes mentorship work are two people, right? Those two people are what make a mentorship work. And if we don't have the right people inside of those experiences, then this is like destined for failure. So that is something we definitely have to keep an eye on. If we, and we're ourselves, right? Like we can do this the way we need to do it. If we need to shut down for a cohort and rethink what we're doing and figure this thing out from the ground up again, we can figure this thing out from the ground up again. So I think that's the best thing about it. And the fact that it's sponsored by a variety of companies is what's really making this stand up. Like if Talent Stacker has a really bad year revenue-wise, that doesn't kill the Talent Stacker, the Trailblazer Mentorship Platform, right? So I think that's what's beautiful is it doesn't hinge on one company, and this is not a shot. It doesn't hinge on one company's decision. This thing can continue to live on because it is by the community, by the companies in the community, and it's for the community. So it's not hinging on us. We may help facilitate it, but even if we have no profits for a year, this platform can continue because it's funded by more than just us. So yeah.
That's so great. So we're going to close out with a final question for you, Bradley. So as an active mentor within the Trailblazer Mentorship Platform, could you share some of your personal insights into your approach to mentorship? Have you had any challenges, and how do you navigate them to make sure that any mentorship that you have is going to be the best possible experience for your mentees?
I can give you my advice, but I would say I consider myself, I want to be a good leader. And I would say that one thing that I think is important is that I don't think I'm the best mentor in the world. I think that there's always room to grow and that I have a lot to learn. So I will tell you what I have learned. And it'll probably be pretty simple, but I learn every time. So the first thing is I get crazy nervous before my mentorship calls when I'm supposed to meet with these individuals. And a lot of times I don't know a whole lot about them. And sometimes it's kind of unfair because they know a little bit about me, but I don't know much about them. And I'll tell you one thing that really, really helps a mentor, and it probably goes both ways, I would assume, is I always send this little guide and I ask like maybe 3 or 4 questions. I try not to make it too crazy. And when they fill out the questions, it sets the tone for the whole meeting. Like when a mentee comes prepared and they're ready to tell me about themselves and what their goals are, changes everything. And I've had mentees where they don't fill it out and they don't do anything, and that's okay. It's all right. Everybody's got their priorities. And when they come and we have to start from ground zero, and it's like, okay, tell me like, what is your background? Like, do you have a job or not have a job? Or like, well, how does this work? And what are you looking for? That pretty much eats our entire first meeting. But when you come prepared, it's almost like we already had a meeting and we just get to start like running. We're already in jog and we just get to like jog and then sprint. And there's a lot more success. And I can tell you, I've had one-on-one mentorship calls where they come prepared and immediately I'm like a perfect like project manager, like a business analyst. Like you already know all the different things and what the inputs are and like where we're headed with this. And when they do that, man, it helps so much. I'm telling you, like we get as much out of one call sometimes as an entire set of like 4 mentorship calls for the people who come and they're ready and they're prepared. So my biggest piece of advice for mentees, actually think about your goals and what you want to get out of this experience. My biggest advice to mentors is to help enable your mentees to share that with you, make them feel welcome and heard and no judgment, and that you're wide open and they can say anything they want to say and it's all going to be totally fine in between you and them. And I think when you open those doors and make people feel comfortable, you can get a lot further, because these mentorship experiences, at least for me, I mean, you can probably hear the way I talk to people. It's not all business, like, because I don't think anything is all business. Everything is personal and everything is about the whole person. I don't know if that sounds a little weird, but like it is about like how many kids do you have and how stressful is your life? And you might have some health issues that are going to get in the way of this that I might need to be aware of, because you might cancel on me last minute and I don't need to report you. I need to be empathetic to the situation you're in, right? So I think there's a lot of that, but just communication, just communicate openly, be transparent, let your guard down. This isn't LinkedIn, like your employer's not watching. Just give people all that you can give them and let them give all that they can give you. And it's going to blow the doors open for a great mentorship experience and hopefully a great relationship for years to come between you and them. So I think there's a lot of opportunity that these conversations open up.
I love that. I know we are a few minutes over, but so many good nuggets there, Bradley, that you gave all of us just to be open to like what possibilities there can be as a mentor and a mentee. And you both can bring so much to that conversation if you are open to those conversations and you come prepared. So before we close out, I would like to thank you, Bradley, for co-hosting tonight's session with me. It has been so awesome having you here and getting your perspective on this week's topic. With that, I just, want to give Bradley a chance. Any parting thoughts for everyone?
I'll just selfishly say, go share the Trailblazer Mentorship Platform. It's free, and tell people to be mentors and tell people to be mentees, and hopefully we'll get a bunch of mentors, and then we can accept all the mentees, and it'll be a beautiful thing. So yeah, that's all. And thank you guys for sitting here and listening to me. I know I can be long-winded. I know we went over, so I appreciate you hearing me ramble for a while. So thank you.
It was all good stuff, Bradley. So with that, I just want to thank everyone so much for attending this evening. I hope to see you all at our next session, and have a great rest of your Wednesday evening.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.